everybody in?
Yep.
Excellent. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Falls Free Friday. Just going to get everyone just a quick moment to make sure everyone's in and settled. This is Friday, September 19th, and we are really excited today to bring our speakers to you. This is our third Falls Free Friday webinar of 2025. My name is Elizabeth Head. I work with Georgia Department of Public Health, and I'll be facilitating our session today. To start, we're going to go over just a couple of housekeeping items. Our presentation will be recorded, and it is also going to be available afterward via the Injury Prevention Research Center at Emory's YouTube channel. They also go by iPrice. In order to reduce background noise, we do ask that you please keep yourself muted for the first portion of our session today. Once we reach the discussion piece of our presentation, you are welcome to unmute and ask questions at that time. You can always use the chat box throughout the presentation today if you want to stay on mute. We will make sure to check those and get your questions asked for you. If we don't have any time at the end to address all of the questions that folks have, we will make sure we email out answers to all the questions that were asked. We would like to thank our entire Fall Prevention Task Force for their dedication and expertise in bringing you this virtual session today and all the sessions for this 2025 Fall Prevention season. Today's Falls Free Friday session is titled Defying Gravity, Assistive Technology for Fall Prevention. Would like to introduce our two speakers for today's session, Rachel Scarboro and Sal Kibler. Rachel earned her Doctor of Occupational Therapy from the University of Florida in 2022. As the Tools for Life occupational therapist, she works with consumers and professionals across the state to provide information about assistive technology, conduct device demonstrations, and provide short-term device loans. Rachel is passionate about problem solving with consumers to find the best technology solutions that will support them to live full and meaningful lives. Rachel's clinical experience at the VA, home health, and mobile outpatient settings has afforded her a unique appreciation for assistive technology's value as it enables older adults and those who support them to age in place. Our second speaker is Sal Kibler, who entered the Georgia State 62 Plus program and completed her master's in gerontology in December of 2021. Ms. Kibler originally joined Tools for Life as an intern in the Direct Service Department in 2019 and was then hired to continue working with Tools for Life's expanded outreach program for older adults. Sal was recently named a 50 over 50 honoree by the Georgia State University Gerontology Institute. Her interests are aging in place, planning for aging and technology, products and services for older adults. She hopes to provide solutions to companies, individuals, and organizations who are interested in creating purpose-filled lives for older adults and their families. Without further ado, I will turn the presentation over to these two incredible professionals.
Thank you so much. Hit the right arrow. Right, okay. Or not. I don't know what's happening. We're off to a great start with our technology. There we go.
There you go. Thank you, Liz, and thanks everybody for joining us today. I think Liz covered my background pretty well, but a few just kind of personal things about me. I am an OK bridge player, and you can see there that that is actually a piece of assistive technology that I made myself out of a pool noodle. You can make a lot of assistive technology out of pool noodles, actually, to help hold cards. It was inspired because I play bridge with 7 other women, and out of that group, 6 of us have had falls, and 4 of those people were unable to hold their cards. So it's kind of relevant to today's message. I love to travel. You see some pictures of me. There are probably some Outlander fans on the call. There usually are, and that's me channeling my Jamie Fraser there, trying to get through that rock to him. So I look forward to telling you a little bit more about fall prevention, and I speak both Rachel and I. Rachel had a fall last week. Actually, both Rachel and I have lived experiences in falling and hopefully keeping from falling
now. Sal, you stole my thunder. I was going to say.
Sorry.
It can happen to anyone, and I learned that. But it was actually before Fall Prevention Month. It was August 30th. I fell in my driveway because we have gravel and it's an uneven path, and I just wasn't watching where my feet were, stepped in kind of a hole, rolled my ankle, went down, and I had to get 7 stitches in my knee. So yeah, it can happen to anybody. So we're going to talk about some unique strategies here and some ways you can maybe prevent some of those falls from happening. So Liz, you gave a great intro. Thank you. Couple fun facts about me. I love animals and especially rodents. I had a pet hamster that really got me through grad school, and he's pictured on this slide. I'm a musician, so I was in marching band and still play in community bands. I love being outdoors, hiking, camping, those sorts of things. And I did go to, if you can see from the slide, I did go to Florida State and then University of Florida for grad school. So I'm a Seminole and a Gator, and now a Yellow Jacket.
A bee.
So
okay, so we represent a team of professionals here at Tools for Life. On staff, we have a gerontologist, we have 2 speech and language pathologists, 2 occupational therapists, master of public health, someone in the vision area, and then we're part of a larger organization that also does captioning, a lot of accessibility stuff and research in that area, user experience, and Braille transcription. I'll just do this one.
the right arrow, or you can click.
Okay, so let's talk about what assistive technology is, and it's really anything. I would suggest if we were here in person, I would ask you if you have any, if you're using any assistive technology, and you are, I know you are, you're probably have a phone, you might wear glasses, you might have a hearing aid, you might use something to help you open a jar. All of those things are assistive technology, but it's not just equipment or devices, but it's also systems and strategies. So what we want to do is use assistive technology to improve or maintain the ability level of the individual with a disability. And if they've fallen, that would be one of those things in the educational settings, in employment, transportation, and all aspects of daily living. We don't care if it's fishing or hunting or whatever you want to do. We want to help you do that. So I wonder if this looks familiar to anyone. Has anyone seen a home like this? Or you don't have to raise your hand and tell me if this has some aspects of your own home. So here are some very common hazards in homes, and I'm sure, Liz, you've seen this cartoon a zillion times, but just generally, here is the lady coming down the steps. There's no rail on her steps, and she's got shoes on that don't have a back. Those shoes are very popular right now. They look great, but they are dangerous. And then, like all of us, she has gathered up some things and put at the bottom of her steps, thinking at some point she's going to take them up, but instead they're just starting to gather there. Lots of area rugs, wires. I have a 1925 home. No matter what I try to do, all the different gadgets I get, I have wires everywhere, and they are dangerous. So I would suggest that everyone take a look at this and get honest about it, and go home, or if you're in your home, do an audit today of your home and get rid of these things. Get rid of those area rugs. Look at those things on the steps. Make sure that you declutter your home as much as you possibly can, because that is the greatest, your environment is the greatest problem you're going to have with your with fall prevention. So why do we care about falls? They're the #1 cause of injury and death for people over 65. And they're 1 in 4 of us report falling each year. 37% of those people need medical treatment, and it's the #1 cause of emergency room visits. A lot of hip fractures from that, and it is very expensive to the Medicare and Medicaid system, $38 billion. And that number is probably a couple of years old now. So we want to make sure people are not falling. So the first thing in fall prevention strategies is for you to take a look at that cartoon again and fall proof your home, please. And second, stay active. There are a lot of excellent programs proven to help. I know that there are evidence-based programs that many of the AAAs around the state are doing, particularly the Tai Chi program, the swimming, walking, strength coordination, balance exercises, all of those can really help you be stronger as well as more brain balanced, if you will. You don't have to be an athlete. Some of these things like the Tai Chi and some of the strength and balance exercises can actually be done from a chair. Medication management. We're going to talk some more about that in a minute, but it's important to manage your medications properly. Mixing the wrong things together, not taking things that you're supposed to take can all cause falls. And even sometimes medicines that you are on can, when you start to take them, you might see a difference in your balance. You should definitely speak to your doctor about that. Bowel and bladder urgency management. I was with a group of older ladies last week with this same presentation, and I asked them if any of them had this, and without exception, everyone raised their hand. Getting up, particularly in the middle of the night, to go to the bathroom can be dangerous. So we need to try to manage that as well as possible. Vision testing and treatment, very important that you're correcting your vision as best you can. We know, everyone knows that your vision is one of the things that goes, and your depth perception, particularly stepping off curbs and things like that. And then finally, assistive technology. So don't let fear of falling stop you from living life. We know that people who fall get very nervous about falling again, but that's like one of the worst things you can do is to stop being active. So I'm going to let you
Sure.
take over.
All right, so you guys are probably familiar with, the standard sort of grab bars that are out there. Those can be super useful. One thing, it's not on this slide, but we should mention is we're not big fans of the suction cup style grab bars. They're easy to place, but they're not the most secure. Especially if you have uneven surface like a tile, shower, if that suction, if it loses suction, you're going down with the grab bar. So we always recommend that if you can get something that's professionally installed, a little more secure, that's the best way to go. I mean, in a pinch, those can work, but again, I don't like to recommend them. I don't like to trust them.
Yeah.
But there's some examples on the slide here of some other grab bar options that maybe you haven't seen, and they might add a little bit different function or different, be a little bit more stylish. So on the left, there's one that folds down from the wall. So if you don't need to use that grab bar all the time, very easy to fold up, get out of the way, and that might help with other transfers and things. And then it's got a little spot for you to even store your toilet paper. So it's really close and easy to get to.
I'd also like to add to this, I'm 5'10", so we replaced our toilets with low flows a few years ago, and so I got higher toilets, which if you haven't replaced toilets in a while in your home, they're probably pretty low because that's just the way they were. So do think about your height, and there are actually things you can put on your toilet to adjust them to your proper height, so it's not so low and so hard to get up and down.
Yeah, and then in the middle, we've got an example of a grab bar that's connected on the floor and the ceiling. It's got like a nice little grip to it, silicone grip that's a little bit sticky. And then it's got, multiple places for you to put your hands. And Sal's point too, if you've got folks who are different heights, I just talked with a married couple. I think the wife is like 5'1" and the husband is like 6'4" or something. So they're like, we both need grab bars. Where do we put them? So, something like this might work for multiple people.
And I call that the stripper pole. Rachel is a credentialed occupational therapist, doesn't like that, but I like
it. Whatever you want to call it is fine. And then on the right, we have another grab bar that actually has a little towel rack included. So that can be nice too. And I think it looks stylish as well as being functional. All right, tub transfers. We love this woman on the left.
She's so happy.
We've never seen someone so thrilled to be taking a bath, but
or so stylish.
We love the robe. We're not sure how this wig is going to fare in the water, but she's sitting on a tub transfer solution that actually lowers and raises into the tub, so it can make it a lot easier getting in and out. It's got a remote control. On the right side, you see another kind of interesting option. It's a toilet and tub transfer bench. So it locks into place. And so you can slide right over, and it can be used to raise up the height of the toilet as well as to get into the tub. So just a couple of options that you may not have seen before. You've probably seen a lot of the standard shower chairs, tub transfer benches. These might be a little bit different.
And the bathroom is one of the big areas to be really vigilant in.
Yeah. All right. Mobility aids. Do you want to talk about these?
No, I want you to.
Okay, great. So mobility aids, also important, of course, for fall prevention. Again, this whole presentation, we wanted to kind of highlight some things you maybe haven't heard of before, haven't seen. So the first two things on here are, it's the U-Step Neuro, which is like a rolling walker. And then there's also a laser cue module. And what these do is they project a little laser line on the floor. And for people who have Parkinson's disease or maybe another gait or movement disorder, they often have a hard time with initiating movement, taking the right size steps. They kind of get into this shuffling gait is something that we see commonly. So for whatever reason, giving that visual cue on the floor of where their next step should be can help their brain overcome that freezing of gait and help them take more even-sized steps. The U-Step Neuro also has like an audio cue that keeps them walking at an even tempo. So, and you may have seen like, what is it? Music is memory, is that what it's called? Or seen people who have gait challenges listening to music, and it helps them kind of regulate. It's kind of a similar thing, giving that consistent beat. You can talk about the walker squawker.
So the walker squawker, you see that over here. You press their little tail and they start to squawk. So they were created by a woman who actually was on a walker, and they're really, they are there to encourage you to keep walking. They're not necessarily super high tech. They're just really cute and fun, and they make a nice little sound, and
they'll sing Yankee Doodle Dandy to you.
Yeah.
And
so they're kind of fun to have and and happy. This is yours.
Okay. All right. So lighting is another thing that is so important and a lot of times gets overlooked. I think lighting makes such a huge difference in not only your fall prevention, your fall risk, but just in your everyday activities. Being able to see what you're doing is important. Who knew? But again, we want to show that these things, you don't have to remove all the character from your home if you take your rugs out, or I mean, you can secure them down. But again, people want to age in place. They want to age gracefully. And if they're using assistive technology in the home, they want it to feel still like their home and not a medical facility. So these examples here, we've got motion sensor lights, lights with a remote control, and a little LED strip that sticks under the railing on the stairway. And all of these are stylish, but also very functional.
And they don't all require an electrician. Some of them are battery powered, which is great, because getting someone to come into your home and do that kind of work is very, very difficult. So it's really exciting, all the new things that can just, especially lamps and other things like that, that can run just off of a battery.
And then smart home devices. All right, so before I lose everybody, the smart home devices, they don't have to be complicated. Some of them can be set it and forget it. And so these are things like the Alexa, like the Google Home, but there's other ways to do it where you can use your voice. You don't have to use your voice. So there's a picture here. It's called a smart plug. It plugs into your wall outlet, and then you plug a device into it, such as a lamp or a fan. And now your dumb fan or whatever can now be used with a smart home device. So I have one of these for my bedroom fan to be able to turn it on and off. I also have a remote that flips my light switch for me. And then I wanted to feature on here as well. This is called the SwitchBot curtain. and it attaches onto your curtain rod, and it's got a little motor that will actually open and close your curtains for you. And we talk about how some of these daily activities, you may not think it's a big deal, but there's actually a lot that goes into something like opening and closing your curtains.
And we don't want you to sit there in the dark all day.
Yes. So for a lot of people, their curtains might be hard to reach. They're having to use what's called dynamic balance and really reach across to pull. It might be dark. You might be climbing behind your furniture to try and reach. Maybe it's, first thing in the morning, your meds haven't kicked in, you're dehydrated, whatever it may be. We don't want somebody to have a fall opening their curtains. So this is an example of something that can help, and it can really just make life easier too. So my blinds in my bedroom are right behind my bed. It's really hard to reach the little spinny thing. And so I ended up getting a similar device that actually turns that and opens my blinds for me. And I set it up. It's got a solar panel that keeps it charged, and it also detects how much light is outside. And so I put it on a routine where once it reaches enough brightness in the morning, it automatically opens my blinds. And then in the evening, when it gets dark again, it closes them. So now I don't even have to think about it. And it's just really nice to be able to let that light in.
And these smart plugs also are not very expensive. And Amazon Day is coming up. So you can, a lot of the smart home devices are usually on the Amazon Prime Day sales.
Yeah, the smart plugs I think are usually like 15 or 20 bucks. Mm-hmm. You can get a 2-pack for like 25. I've seen. So yeah, pretty inexpensive way to upgrade some of your home appliances.
So this is something called the Lotus Ring. So the white plastic thing you see there on the right is the size of a light switch, and it goes on your light. So all it does, it's magnetic. So you don't have to have a screwdriver. You don't have to have an electrician. We love things that don't require you to get someone to come in your home, because even if you are very well healed, just getting somebody to show up to do some of these kinds of things is very difficult. So this just pops on. You'll see there at the bottom, that little line at the bottom, that's actually a radio frequency that speaks to this ring on the left-hand side. So you will, if you're, for instance, laying in bed and you want to turn your light off, you just click on that ring and it turns it on and off. We're very excited about this. We met this guy at the American Society on Aging about 3 years ago now, I guess. And he won the tech, kind of the Shark Tank at ASA. And it turns out he's a Georgia Tech graduate. And we're very excited because he's going to be on Shark Tank in the upcoming season. We're not sure exactly when yet. But let's look at this little video and you can see a demonstration of it.
So this is the device that goes on top of the switch. This is what the back side looks like. I just need to place it close to the switch and it snaps on magnetically. And that's it. That's the setup. There's no smartphone required, no downloading any apps, no rewiring. I can control the switch manually by pushing the button on top, like so. Or I can control it from a distance using the ring on my finger. Let's try and turn on just the right switch now. Let's turn on the one in the middle and the one in the kitchen. I'm going to try and turn them all off now.
Nice!
So you can imagine that that's a great thing, particularly when we talk about bladder control and things like that, getting up in the middle of the night, needing to go to the bathroom. You can cut the light on and off. You can cut the light on before you get out of bed. And it's really even easier than a lamp next to your bed, which sometimes requires some fine motor skills.
So we have 3 walls.
It's okay.
We love keeping people doing all the recreational things that they want to do. And we know that gardening is super important to a lot of people. We have a number of items in our lab here at Georgia Tech. And several of them are these raised beds. We have one that's metal and skinnier, and it rolls around, which is great. You can move it around on your patio. You can, because we don't want people to have to lean over if they don't have to. We want them to be able to garden either even from a wheelchair or standing up. And this, of course, you may have seen one of these. You can flip this over and sit on it, or you can kneel on it. We have a number of items also that help with grip for people that are having issues like holding a spade. There's something that goes up on their arm. Gardening is super important to people, even if they just are decorating a little pot of things with a little felt insert. This is really big. So think about recreation in the same way, and think about doing it safely. Non-slip surfaces. Again, we're back in the bathroom, which a place to be careful. So trying to make sure that your bathroom, while a lot of these new bathrooms particularly look fabulous, and a lot of the old ones didn't have anything for slipping, you can put these strips in on the floor that you can barely see that can help with that. And then this on the right hand is a product called Tough Grip. And you can put that, like I had wooden decks, and the staircases got kind of slimy. So this was a great way to get some grit on those steps that would help you keep you from falling. I think you can get that at Home Depot.
And then we talked about the lighting and some visual aspects earlier. The gripping is also helpful. Visual contrast can also be really helpful. And I think this video just illustrates it really well. They're going to simulate having cataracts and going down a stairway that has poor visual contrast, and then one with improved visual contrast.
This is just a short example of how adding high contrast tape or color to the edge of stairs can be really helpful for somebody with a visual impairment to tell different stairs apart. So that first one had some nice yellow edging, and these stairs do not, and it's much more difficult to see the edge of each step without the tape.
So thinking, a lot of this stuff is low tech, a lot of this stuff is very simple. It could be as much too if you're eating dinner, if you're having berries, say raspberries, serve it on a white plate. If you're having mashed potatoes and white rice, maybe serve it on a red plate. So it just increases that visual contrast, makes it a little bit safer. For example, if you're cutting things up, using a cutting board that's high contrast will help you see a little bit better what you're doing, and probably make your food more appetizing as well.
This is
So smart watches can do a lot of things now, and it's interesting. My big fall this year was I was coming out of senior day at the Capitol. No good deed goes unpunished when I fell over a pylon in the middle of the street there, and I went down hard and messed up my hand a little bit. It was not as serious as it should have been. But immediately my watch said, "We see you've had a hard fall." So while they're not perfect, they will monitor those kinds of things. And now we'll do a lot of your health tracking also. They said, "We see you've had a hard fall. Do you want us to call emergency services?" And of course I didn't. Now I will say a couple of people have told me, including my husband, that when he was down on the ground doing some gardening, that they thought he had fallen. But again, you control that. So they're not going to be perfect. And also they're not going to be perfect on your blood pressure and all those other kinds of things, but they are something that you can use. And if something is suddenly out of whack, you should always call your doctor. But you should set up an emergency contact if you haven't already done that on your phone. Mine is I don't know what the current thing that all the young people are doing, but mine is from the old days. It's called ICE, in case of emergency. And that is, so if I have an accident and I'm unable to tell them to call my husband, they will look on my phone and see ICE, and they will be able to call him. But it's also now just set up as my emergency contact on the regular phone. If you don't have to have the smartwatch, the more expensive ones. Some of the other ones that do like tracking of your steps and things like that also do some of the blood pressure things and emergency things.
This is an example of a fall detection option that you can have in the home. I know a lot of people want to have, peace of mind and feel safe in their home. They also want to have privacy in the home, especially if it's things like the bathroom, the bedrooms. And so this is an example. It's called the Vyar Care, and it's a technology that mounts and it monitors activity. However, it's not a camera. It doesn't have any cameras, any microphones. It uses radio frequency to measure movement. So it's a little bit more secure. There's nothing to record you in the home. And it also works better than cameras in certain ways. For example, if you're in a bathroom in the shower and it's steamy, the camera lens would steam up and then it can't see if you've had a fall. However, this radio frequency, it's able to work in those kinds of environments. So just another option.
We were talking earlier about managing medications. And we have here in our lab at Georgia Tech, we have a number of different medication management items. The one on the far right is called the Hero, and it's our highest tech one. You load in all of your medications in the top and you set a program. It's connected to a smartphone. And it does require a subscription. So people, and that's one thing we tell everybody to be careful about with a lot of things is subscriptions, because we've all fallen prey to signing up for something we didn't mean to sign up for, and subscriptions can be very expensive. But the cool thing about this is your care partner or your family member or whoever will be notified when these pills fall out down. You'll see at the bottom there, they fall out into this little to this little cup, and it tells you it's time to take it. So your care partner gets a notification that you have actually removed those pills. So while we can't guarantee someone took those pills, that's at least a great first step. And we hear from we actually have a staff member here whose family member is using this, and they're really big on it. I use the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday thing from CVS, and that works best for me. I don't need a lot of high-tech stuff or the alarms because I'm doing this twice a day and I set them up. Also, on your left-hand side is, this is called LiveScribe. Live Fine, yeah. And so what this does is, again, you or someone else loads in all of your medications, and there's a template around on the inside of that. So it can be AM, PM, it can be 3 times a day, it can be once a day or whatever. But I think there are 30 spots on here. And so you load that in and you set the alarm, and it will go off and tell you it's time to take your pills. And there, where the lady's hand is, you'll see that is like a little bay. So they come out right there. And so you can't take any other. Part of this is taking double medicines, which is a bad thing to do. The one in the middle is just a really advanced form of the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday one. I also would suggest that you look at some of the medication management apps. I use something called MediSafe, MEDISAFE. It is the version I use is free. You can pay more to get more alarms and things, but I use it primarily to fill my Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday things every week. So I use that and I check it off. It's super easy to use because all I had to do was scan the barcode and it went immediately in. So you don't have to know how to use a keyboard or deal with your phone or any of this. It just pops up. It's super easy. I find it to be really useful. There are other ones you might want to look at, but they really are pretty great. And then auto refill. I do a lot of auto refill because of my insurance and working with CVS. So things are just coming to me in the mail often. If you look at Amazon, they're doing things where they actually are providing the pills to you already prepackaged. So you're getting a Monday one, you're getting a morning one that's just a package of just those morning ones, and you're pulling it off. So very convenient. Be careful though, because if you are like many older adults, particularly, your medications might change fairly regularly, and you've got to make sure that if you're using one of those kinds of services, that you are communicating that properly. You also need to be cognizant of that yourself. I had a situation in which I was taking an old version of the medicine, one that was a different dosage. So that is not good either. And then keeping your doctor informed. So we have these medication management bags here. If you come visit us, we'll be glad to give you one. But you should take all of your medications with you to the doctor, all of them. And that would include stool softeners, that would include your vitamins. They need to know, your doctor needs to know what it is you're taking. So we know that particularly if there's some kind of care transition, so you're going to a new doctor, you are going to a new specialist, people don't know what you have. It's great to have it on your phone like I do, MediSafe, but I think it's awesome. But even that, I was screwing up myself because I was scanning the wrong one. So when I go, I take all of mine also, and they go through, and every once in a while they find something I should not be taking. So that is really important for everyone to do.
So we've talked about a lot of things and hopefully gotten the gears turning a little bit of maybe something you haven't thought about doing. We want to just say that fall prevention doesn't have to be these dramatic home renovations. It doesn't have to be anything huge or expensive. A lot of things are small changes and things that you wouldn't even think of as assistive technology that can just make life easier and make you stay safer in your home. So we've got an example on the left. It's a little robot vacuum, a little Roomba who goes around and picks up after you. That can be helpful in terms of reducing the amount of time someone might need to use a vacuum or a broom. That might help them keep their place a little bit tidier. The middle is a shower product dispenser that mounts on the wall. And you probably are like used to seeing these in hotels. And I think in our minds, we think, oh, this is like kind of a luxury thing. But think about all the different ways it can help somebody. So,
and they're not expensive.
They're not expensive. Imagine, if you store your shampoo and soap and everything on the floor, you're having to bend down, you can slip. A lot of times the bottles get slippery and so you drop them. It can be hard sometimes, like say you've got the use of only one hand to manipulate the bottle and open and flip it. You can also use these for people who have may need a little cue of how much product to use or what order to use things in. Say that you have low vision and you can't wear your glasses in the shower. You can put a big, 1, 2, 3, or just know that my soap's on the left, my shampoo's in the middle, my conditioner's on the right, so that you're not holding these bottles trying to read the tiny little.
Or those bars of soap. Bars of soap slip, fall down, then you have to go down and reach them.
So again, think of, a small change. On the right, we also have a shelf that pulls down so that it's easier to reach items that are up high. So there's a lot of little things you can do to make life easier.
So just circling back up to Tools for Life, we are one of Assistive Technology Act programs that are in every single state and territory and tribal land. So we come to you, you use our services, and we are absolutely free. We're federally funded. We do things like today, we do a lot of training and education. We actually have equipment lending. We're going to talk a little bit about the process for that in a second. AT reuse, we work with FODAC, which is Friends of Disabled Adults and Children. They're out in Stone Mountain on AT reuse. If you ever need wheelchairs, hospital beds, any kind of particularly durable medical equipment, they probably have it, and it's almost free to use it, and the products are in very good condition. We do a lot of AT demonstrations. We love talking to groups like y'all today and getting our word out. So if you do have an issue though, and you want to call us, so let's just use an example. We had a gentleman who really, he said all he wanted to do was be able to read the paper, but his right arm did not work anymore, and he was his vision was too low to read the newspaper. So his family made a contact to us. You can call us, you can email us, or you can go through our website, and you then are connected with one of our professionals. Remember those people I talked about earlier, speech and language pathologist, occupational therapist, gerontologist. You're going to get one of those highly credentialed people who then is going to collaborate with the rest of the group on that. All of that is free. If you were paying an hourly rate for that, it would be pretty significant. And then we love it when you come in. We would really prefer that. People come in and then they see other things that are going to make their lives better. And we can personalize that recommendation even more, but we can do it virtually. And we're glad to do that. And we then demonstrate that. We make a recommendation. We teach you how to use it. I will say that most of the things that we have in our lab that we actually do recommend for people are fairly low tech. They're not robots. We do have some, but a lot of lower tech items, and pretty easy to use and relatively inexpensive. If we have it in our lab and you are interested in it, we are glad to lend that to you for up to 6 weeks. And we give you a prepaid postal thing to send back to us. We're as easy as Amazon. You can keep it for about 6 weeks, try it, send it back to us. And then if you want to buy it, we don't sell anything here. We are completely funded by your federal tax dollars, so use us. And then we can guide you to where to buy it. A lot of items are available very easily now on Amazon. They used to be like things that were in obscure stores and that most people didn't know about, but a lot of things are pretty easy to get. If something is expensive that you need and you need to get funded for it, and a lot of the people that we work with are on Medicaid and are don't have, in some cases, don't have a credit rating that will allow them to borrow any money. We also work with FODAC on a program where we can help you borrow money and also and at a very reasonable rate. And we have a great return on people. We do better than the banks on people paying us back. So it's very easy to use us. We want you to come in. We want you to call us. This is FODAC, just so everybody knows about FODAC. And then here is all of our information. I hope that you will take a picture of this and give us a call. We would love to help you in any way we can. And then we're also on social media. On YouTube, I would suggest you go to YouTube. We have a lot of videos on YouTube about various products that we have and strategies that we have that might help you, and a monthly newsletter where we feature things each month. So, questions?
And we'll leave this up for a second here. So if you wanted to take a picture of that QR code or anything, you have a chance, but Sal and I can't see you guys right now.
Yeah. So there, and there's all the contact information.
What a great presentation. Thank you all so much. Our friends at Tools for Life are always a great resource and have been so for a very long time. Let's definitely open this up to conversation. Please feel free to unmute and ask your question. You may also use the Q&A box in order to ask any questions via chat for our speakers today. I just want to say, ladies, that gardening tool to help you get down there or to sit on, Christmas gifts for the whole family. We all love them. They're so absolutely incredible.
I gave one to my mom last year for Christmas. So
yeah.
We have every year we publish a little gift idea of assistive technology in our newsletter. So
nice. I actually have a question while we're waiting for folks to maybe queue up with some additional questions of their own. Can you talk a little bit about how caregivers or family members might best support older adults in adopting and using some of these technologies?
Oh, that's a great question. Um, yeah, well, so Tools for Life and the Assistive Technology Act programs really are about people with disabilities of all ages, 6 months all the way up. However, we all know that most older adults do not see themselves as having a disability. Most of us, though, age into certain disabilities. Sometimes it's a temporary disability. You know, you may fall and you may have a disability and you may get over that. We actually just had this discussion last week as we talked about there is like a published research says 35% abandonment rate on assistive technology. So that's a lot. And I think it's low. I think that's a low number. I think it's more than that, actually. And a lot of that probably comes from the person not being part of the solution. And that's one of the reasons why we love it when the actual consumer comes in and it's not just what we refer to as the daughter in town, you know, who's kind of in charge of all the things. A family member or a professional comes in without them. It's not the same when they're here and they see things and they're part of it. And also a third party like Rachel is telling them about this thing. It's, you know, family members recommending things sometimes to older adults just immediately puts up a barrier. So involving them in the process is huge. A second part of it is don't make it about whatever the thing is, make it about bigger things in life. We know that during COVID, people did not adopt, older adults did not adopt video meetings because they wanted to do telehealth appointments. They were still very reticent to become part of that. However, what we know is they wanted to go to Easter Sunday services in 2020, and they wanted to stay connected to their grandchildren. So sometimes think about the back, you know, the back doorway in to including them in these things, and start small. That's the other thing. And just, you know, basic communication with older adults says no complex sentences, no, you know, fewer numbers of steps. We sometimes we get excited about things and, oh wow, we want to, you know, we want to open and close that shade and we want the lights to cut off and on and we want to, you know, and that's like, oh, boom, you're done, you know. But if you can start with a smart plug, or as this gentleman that came into us, when he came in, we said, okay, let's see if Alexa will read the newspaper to you. So he was never going to use Alexa before that. He didn't like Alexa. Alexa was a technology thing. But when Alexa read the front page of the New York Times to him, suddenly he was all in. And while he was so suddenly, and then he looks around and he says, oh, I love that shirt with the magnet buttons. Can I get one of those? So I think that it's baby steps. And I think that perhaps the baby boomer generation is going to be more open to all these new technologies and things than some of the older generations, in which you were sort of tough it up. If you know, power through, it's a sign of weakness by using things. So don't make it a sign of weakness, make it a sign of opportunity and kind of a broader appeal.
And just to push back on something you said about you know, they didn't want to use it for their doctor's appointments. They wanted to use it to connect with people, to go to their church services and things. I don't think that's a backdoor way. I think that's just thinking about what's meaningful to the person,
right,
what they want to be doing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I agree with the rest of what you said, Sal.
Okay, good.
Thank you for a great presentation. And I think I also graduated from genotology 62 plus program. I think for the dementia, the very important is to prevent the seniors fall, because older people are very easy to fall. Maybe their parents, maybe their vision, maybe anything. So I think this presentation is very good for prevent the elders to have dementia. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you, Joy, for your comment. Really appreciate that. We have a question in the chat from Kay Perino. It says here, we get a lot of requests to read paperwork or correspondence to seniors. Could you please highlight some resources to help with that?
Yeah, and maybe if anyone has like a community resource that they can suggest, that would be fantastic. We do have a few assistive technology tools that can be helpful with reading. So for example, we've got several different reader pens that you drag the pen. It's got a little scanner on it. You drag the pen across a line of text and it will scan it and read it aloud to you. We also have different video magnifiers. So it's a little stand with a camera, increases it. It's got a light to really brighten up the page. And then it also has a screen to make, so that you can zoom in, make the text as large as you need it.
And some of those are small enough to fit in a handbag.
Yeah, we've got ones that sit on a tabletop, ones that are more portable, different options out there. So those are just a couple of short examples, but we would love to,
Also screen readers. I mean, there are screen readers so that you those are pretty readily available now on your computer. Also, there are some apps that will read for you. So, one of the things we would suggest always is go learn about the accessibility stuff on your computer. Google accessibility on whatever kind of computer you have and read about all the different things. You'd be surprised. Just even the contrast on your phone. My fonts are so large that when I'm in meetings next to people, they're like, I see them reading my text messages from people because they can see it. But you can make your text way big. You can make it different colors. You can get some text to voice things on some of these. So just play around with some of that stuff. And we have an app finder on our website also. So go on there and you can you can see some of the different apps and many of them are free. Some of them, as you get more sophisticated, you have to pay for, but I would try all those things.
And
Lovely.
They added an extra comment, very non-computer clients, letters specifically. Those magnifiers and things that we talked about, I mean, it could be a low-tech magnifier, like, a magnifying glass, but they make page versions and stand versions. So that's a low-tech option. Those video magnifiers tend to be pretty simple. Like they don't have a lot of buttons. So that's another option, but definitely feel free to reach out to us if you want to ask more questions or see some of those options.
Or come see us.
Yeah.
And bring your person.
Yeah, absolutely. Christy Joyner has her hand up. Christy?
Yes, I do not have a specific question. I just wanted to say, ladies, awesome presentation. My husband and I care for his elderly parents, and then I just had my grandfather to pass, and my grandmother is living alone, wheelchair bound. So the Lotus ring, I had received an email about it, but I will tell you that did not catch my attention. But your presentation today and that demonstration, as that was taking place, I thought, wow, that could really help her. And so during the presentation, I sent her a text. I said, Google Lotus ring. I think this is very interesting and could help you. And I just want to share with y'all, I just received a message back and she's like really excited about the Lotus ring. So I just wanted to say, y'all are doing a wonderful job here. Thank you.
Oh, great. That is such great news. Thank you for sharing that.
That's amazing. We actually also had Julie Gavin in the comments talk about being a big fan of the Lotus ring, and it being awesome energy conservation tool for folks with significant fatigue or limited mobility.
Yeah, great point.
Can you talk a little bit about how cost factors into choosing assistive technology? Are there programs available to help support the costs associated?
You want me to talk about
Yes.
Yeah, cost is obviously a factor. I mean, it's a factor for every decision we make pretty much. Um, we're, as Sal mentioned, we're a free resource. So meeting with us, trialing equipment through us is totally free. Borrowing things to try in your own environments is free. We will work with people, if it's something that comes up during the initial discussion, we will maybe see if there's a less expensive option if we know that finances are going to be a barrier. We also, I know we threw a lot of info at y'all. We do provide funding guidance. So if you say, I want this thing, sometimes, like Sal said, a lot of times you can get these things for cheap. But we know a lot of older adults are on fixed incomes. They don't have a lot of extra money, especially to try things that may not work. But we can work with people one-on-one to kind of help them explore what options there might be. So, for example, I know with the Hero, I've heard of some people on Medicare getting that covered. Insurance doesn't cover a lot of assistive technology,
but it does cover some. You should always try.
It's worth a try. And like I said, some people get the Hero or other things covered. It's very individualized, of course. But we'll also, might be able to recommend different other agencies, like maybe you have a spinal cord injury, and so we can recommend United Spinal Association, or there's a spinal cord injury and brain injury grant program. So there's programs out there depending on your situation. If you're a veteran, that's something that's helpful to know.
The Center for Visually Impaired, for instance.
Yeah.
Some of those different ones. Also, Medicare and Medicaid do cover a number of things, and the like the ADRC, for instance, they have money for a number of these items. So don't let that stop you. Let us try to help you with that. We don't give away anything. We wish we did. But we do lend. And so you can at least know whether it's something that's going to work for you before you invest in it. Again, so much of this stuff is really inexpensive. So trying to find a way, but I know that there are, in certain categories they're easier, like visually impaired seems to be an area where there's more funding available for things.
We also have a funding guide that's published up on our website. So feel free to look through that.
Yeah.
But also reach out to us, because that's something we work with individuals as well, is kind of helping them navigate those options.
Absolutely. Really appreciate y'all's time today. We are coming to the end of our session. We are so grateful for your time and expertise. If you have additional questions in the chat, everyone, you should see Megan Passano's information and iPrice's information and Tools for Life's information. Please respond to a quick survey as you are getting ready to exit our webinar today. We're very happy to have been able to provide this presentation to you.
Thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Have a great weekend.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.